How you doing? How you doing? And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Patty, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by today. And if this is the first time you're catching my content, I like to treat my stuff like it's a live show. Essentially, we're not looking at any edits or any fun stuff like that. I want it to feel like a dialogue, like a conversation that we're having. And I feel like if I were to have a conversation with you, but cut it down and edit it down to only the best parts, that's a little disingenuous. And you know, your boy never claims to be an expert. I'm just here to tell you what I think and how I feel. But I want to do that in a sincere way. So I appreciate you, and let's go ahead and talk about essentially what we're going to be touching on this video. So, of course, the thumbnail is going to give that away. But 5 things that I don't think you should worry about with Genshin Impact. So, just to give you a quick rundown of what the list is that we're going to run through today, and also enjoy just the random gameplay in the back, just kind of taking clips from the beta that I streamed. Well, what I have left of that footage, damn hard drive. But essentially, we're going to go through a couple of things, and I'm going to answer these questions to the best of my ability. It's going to be, is it pay to win? Do you need to reroll for a 5-star? Do you have to play the meta? Are the rates bad / changes to the Abyss that reduced Primogen a month bad? And is it a Breath of the Wild clone? So, reason that I wanted to make this video before we start getting into these individual points is there has been a lot of just, I don't want to say naysaying, but like just doomsday-ish kind of stuff that I've been seeing all over the Reddit. People taking certain news and running as far in the worst direction with it as they can and assuming that, I don't even want to play this game now. And I mean, if you really feel that way, by all means, you know, you do you, boo. I'm not here to tell you that you're absolutely wrong, but I'm gonna give you my opinion on a few of these things. Since, you know, I have actually played the game, and I feel like that should factor in a little bit more than some of the things I've seen on Reddit. And this also isn't to say that any criticisms or issues that you might have with any of the changes or any of the stuff we're going to talk about today, that you were wrong and or anything like that, or that it's bad to have those conversations. It's good to have those conversations. It's healthy. You should always have those conversations. What you shouldn't do is be so embedded into your point or take so much of what someone else says that you were like, that is my worldview now and you cannot change it. You should see it for yourself. So anybody that's seen some news over the last week or so that has upset them and, you know, reduced the amount that they are excited to play the game, I would take a lot of what you're seeing right now with a grain of salt, including the stuff from the CN side. You know what I mean? Like there's been some tier lists floating around that game's not even out yet, guys. I wouldn't put too much stock into all of those. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying don't build your house on that foundation. 90% of the world has not gotten this game yet. Once millions more people have played, we're probably going to see things shake out differently. And that's not even touching on any class changes, or I shouldn't say class, any character changes or balances that might happen between now and launch. And again, stuff that could happen in the first couple of weeks of launch that they tweak and fix, and we should totally expect that to happen. So don't take everything you're seeing as, you know, the 10 commandments in stone. This is the holy grail. Everything is up in the air right now to a degree, and you probably shouldn't, you know, overcommit to one side or the other. Be hopeful. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's talk on the first subject. Is it pay to win? Not really, no. If you want to talk about, you know, you absolutely need some really good teams to get far in the Abyss, yes. Is that going to affect 90% of players? Probably not in the first couple months. For most casual people, there is over 100 hours of gameplay before you are even halfway through the story, maybe 3/4 of the way through the story. There is a lot of game here. Typically, when you want to talk about is a game pay to win, are there a bunch of walls that you cannot get past in a realistic fashion without spending money. And while to a certain degree there is some of that with the Abyss, mind you, that's behind over 100 hours of gameplay. Easy. Easy. Now, if you're super, super sweaty and you're 100% a min-maxer, I'd put you somewhere between 50 hours and 75 hours into the game before you're even starting to touch the low levels of Abyss. You know what I mean? It's a lot of games would have paywalls that come up much, much quicker and would be much less of a game. And what I mean about that is there are a lot of gacha games where it's 60% menus and then about 30% watching something autoplay, and then the rest of that is you upgrading resources, managing resources, and that's it. That's the whole game. This is a game. There is 100 hours plus of just running around and exploring the world and figuring out everything in it. And that's just the base level. Like that's ground level. There's a lot of game here. So I think it's really disingenuous to try and frame it in such a way that, because having 5 stars would give you a huge advantage in Abyss, that's the only way to play. No. Like, it's... No. And it's... Again, when something's really, really popular and it's on the cusp of coming out, we should kind of expect a bunch of people to be looking for the sky to fall, because that happens with a lot of games. A lot of games, it's not super uncommon that all the hype turned out to be meh. This is an insanely big game with so many hours to enjoy before you even understand what's happening and what stuff is important. There's a lot of, gacha games out there where it's, it's just not the same. Like, I don't feel fair calling them both, games. So, I love my Summoner's War, play it to death, still to this day. I've been going 5 years strong on it, but this is more, I would consider Genshin Impact more of a game than Summoner's War. Just based off of how much you can do, how much time there is, that isn't the same content over and over again farming. Like, there's hundreds of hours of new gameplay before you start even getting into anything that's really repetitive. So that's one of the things that I really, really wanted to hammer home, that at the very base of this, before we start talking about 5-star rates or anything else, there's over 100 hours of real gameplay that is new the whole time. So, kind of feel like I need to give credit where credit's due on that one. So, next thing that's probably going to be well received by a lot of people. And again, I'm not trying to come at nobody's throat here. I just want to talk about how I feel and my perception from being part of the beta and having access to the game. Do you need to reroll for a 5-star? In my opinion, no. Can you do that? Are your chances great of getting one? Not really. Okay, yes, you can do it. Are your chances of getting one super high? No. It could potentially take a lot of rerolls, to get that. And you might eventually just pull a 5-star weapon and be like, close enough. But now you've gone through a, frustrating cycle that you're not going to be then going into the game very happy. I don't see you extending the life of the game for yourself if that is a major focus for you and you absolutely have to do it. Other thing I'm going to kind of just touch on real quick, as of right now, there's 23 or 24 characters. That's it. This isn't, Calibria with 20-some 5-stars, or Summoner's War with 300-some 5-stars. Yes, I'm counting all the elements as different ones. Bite me. There's not a very big character pool. You're gonna have a super strong advantage early on, and you're gonna be able to push through a lot of stuff without I don't want to say savoring it, but I feel like you're going to cheapen your experience a little bit. You're not going to really learn the game at the same rate everyone else is, because you're going to have a character that just pushes everything over. You're also then going to have a character that you're going to want to spend a bunch of resources on, and you're only going to be able to do so much with it for so long. Like you're going to have to get a decent bit into the game before you can really heavily invest in them. So I don't think you're going to do yourself any favors. I think your 4 stars are going to be weaker because of the 5-star that you're trying to focus on, when really the whole aspect of this game is your team synergy. What kind of team you want to build, how you want to play with that team, and what elements you want to focus on. And that's not going to be universal across the board. Different areas and different encounters are going to require you to have a different team setup. You're not going to learn all that and figure out everybody's strength and weaknesses just pushing for a 5-star with that gotcha mentality that 5 stars are the only thing that matters. It doesn't in this game. It's very difficult to have one character so invested in that it carries the rest of them. You kind of need everybody to show up to work. You know what I mean? This is definitely a team effort game, not how good is your RNG. Okay, now you get to play and enjoy it. So if you're rolling a few accounts because, you know, doing the Road to Glory stuff, say I've seen a couple of people saying like, oh, I've got 5 accounts that I'm going through all the pre-registration stuff and everything, and then I'm going to try them all out, and then whoever has the best rewards or best luck, that's the one I'm going to go with. That's probably the most healthy way, and I don't encourage it because I think you could get in trouble with trying to run 5 accounts. I'm sure that's against TOS somewhere. But that, in my opinion, is, you know, healthier than I'm just going to re-roll until I get a 5-star. I don't think you're setting yourself up to enjoy the game. I wish you the best of luck, but for most players, that's not how I recommend you come to this game. And we'll leave that one there. Next one we want to talk about is, do you have to play the meta? So this is, you know, kind of touching in on where, you know, those tier lists are coming in. It's like, oh, if I have something at the bottom of the tier list, you know, should I just delete my account? No, all of the tier lists that I saw put the Traveler at the very bottom. And at least as far as I got into the game, Traveler was still a huge help to me, just exploring the world and doing stuff like that. I don't think you should take tier lists as an absolute, oh my god, this is where the truth is. Like I said earlier, the game's not even out yet. So there's, you know, at least a couple million people that haven't touched it yet. I'm a dirty NA casual. I know I will probably never measure up to like a mediocre CN player, but don't have it in your mind that you absolutely need to have these 4 characters, and if you don't have these 4 characters, then you're doing bad at the game. No. Out of all the starting characters, Keogh, oh god, I really should like look at all the pronunciations for these guys, but the ice guy that they give you at the very beginning, he's the only weak link in that whole bunch. Get rid of him as soon as you can, provided that they don't buff him by the time the game either launches or within the first month or so of it, when a bunch of people realize like, oh, he's bad. Everyone else is pretty viable and pretty strong. I can't comment on, you know, farming the highest levels of Abyss. But again, that whole thing I said, where there's 100 some hours of gameplay before you even having to worry about all that stuff, all these characters are good. Build the team that you like, that you start to feel comfortable with, and play around with it a little bit. Because again, one of the biggest parts of this game is the team synergy and what kind of like combos and stuff you can build and work off of. And again, it's not just your players' skills and elements, but it's also environmental stuff. So you all, you know, don't want to have a team that's super directed towards this one type of setup, because then if you run into an element that your main DPS is, oh no, now you're, you know, gonna get bullied because you set everybody up to be able to boost this one guy. not going to go too well for you in all situations. It'll go great in some situations, but again, you should enjoy and play around with every character that you get, because they're all unique, they're all fun, and this is a huge, gigantic world to dink around in them with. So I wouldn't be too concerned with, whatever the launch meta is. I would just play the game and enjoy it. Next thing that we're going to talk about, and I've had to stop myself from commenting on a lot of posts that I've seen about this. So, are the rates bad? And are the changes to the Abyss that reduce the Primogen a month bad? Rates aren't super high. There are 23 characters in this game. I don't know why you would expect the rates to be super crazy amazing, but there's a very, 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 very small character pool in this game. Do I think that it would absolutely break things if they tweaked it and made it a little bit higher? No. And I think they'll probably end up doing that after launch, or at least finding some way to compensate people for the frustration that they feel, because you'll eventually get a little frustrated. Do I think that, there's parts where they have set themselves up for people to go, well, what the hell? Yeah. The amount that you get from, the constellation stuff where you're feeding dupes into your character, the power exponential jumps there are pretty high. But none of that stuff really matters until Abyss. And I guess this is probably the time that we should start talking about the Abyss changes. So, one of the things that they did is that originally Abyss reset once a month, and you got rewards for clearing every level of it. What they've changed it to now is Abyss resets twice a month, but it only resets to level 8. Which, to do level 8, you have to have super high level characters. Most people won't be there at least for a few months. The sweaty people might be there in 2-3 weeks or so, maybe. People are just starting to get to that point on CN. And it's been out for, week, 2 weeks? I want to say at least 2 weeks for the open beta on that side. So, I think it's a change that they could have waited to make until the game was a month or two in, or actually released, and people had a chance to get to a decent amount with it. So that this kind of change didn't scare them as much. Because again, one of the things that they did was make it so it resets twice a month now. So the way that I look at that is okay, so that's them going for, trying to extend the life cycle of the game. Because by the time you're at, the point that you're getting past Abyss level 8, you've got really strong characters that you had to work pretty hard to get there. Building each character takes a lot of time. I don't want to give any rough estimates and be it takes 20 hours to, per character to build them up and max them out. I couldn't even tell you how long it takes to do that, so we're not going to make any rough guesses there. But it takes a good amount of time. So, the fact that, it resets twice a month now will be paying dividends. 4 months from now, 6 months from now. Around the point to where people will, if they really enjoyed the game, might start running into some burnout. So they want to make sure that they're, throwing treats out there to make sure that you're still playing. So that's how I interpret how they've made this shift. Do I think they needed to make that before launch? No. They probably could have waited until the game has been out for a couple of months and then drop that so that people can see in the future, oh, okay, this is, where I want to work towards. This is how I'm going to be getting some really good benefits. Now, twice a month, you know, they should have given people a month or two of Abyss how it is before instituting this change. So I'll give you guys that, but I don't necessarily think that it's a terrible, terrible change. Through all of your sources, you still get about enough for 40 pulls, so that's 4 free 10 pulls a month if you're farming all of your stuff and being a good boy. And that's down a little bit from what the changes were before Abyss. So that sucks a little bit, yeah. But also show me another gacha that's giving you 4 10 pulls a month. There's not a lot. The only way you're doing that in Summoner's War, for instance, is if yo ass gets lucky. That's it. Or you farm so much. So much. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of gachas on the market that don't give you 40 free pulls a month. I mean, there are some that do. But, you know, to act like that is a devilish thing, or now the rates are so terrible that what's the point, I can't agree with that. Especially looking at the other games that are on the market, what those kinds of games are, and how much game is in those games, or how much new game is in those games, that isn't just repetitive content over and over and over again. So I don't really see it as a fair comparison. Is there a conversation to have about when the best time it would have been to make a change like this? But to, you know, outright say that it's a super predatory move, I don't think that's true. Oh. And we'll leave that off at that point. If you have anything that, you know, I would love to hear from you guys. Only thing I would ask is please be respectful. Run a pretty strict comment section on my videos. If you're showing up and being nasty to me or being nasty to other people, I just ban you from the channel without a second thought. I have a lot of mental health issues, and no part of me is going to sit here and let some rando on the internet just, you know, cuss me out and treat me like an asshole. I'll have a conversation with absolutely anybody about absolutely anything. Let's talk about it, boo. But if you're gonna show up and be an asshole, bye. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, you know, I would love, and I'm expecting some feedback. That's why I'm kind of throwing this in after the topic that we just discussed, because based off of stuff I saw on the Reddit, people have some feelings about this. So if I didn't address anything or didn't talk about any aspect of it that's still bugging you, let me know what you're thinking, and I'll give you my honest opinion back. So yeah, just be nice. Let's all be nice to everybody. And the final topic that we're going to talk about, is it a Breath of the Wild clone? One of my best friends, guy I work with, got into it with somebody, I want to say on one of the Facebook ads or something like that. Where someone was trying to say like, oh, it's a Breath of the Wild clone, and they were like, okay, tell me what they copied. Homie put grass. He said they have the same type of grass in the game. Bruh. I can't even. Lord help this man, and help me a little bit too to deal with him. So aesthetically, is there some stuff? Yeah. Art style is similar, but also if you played Honkai Impact, you know they didn't wildly change what the characters look like. Character design is still basically the same, and it very much matches the world they're running around in. It is an anime-style game. There are lots of anime-style games, so if you're basing it off of just appearance alone, that's super, super shallow in my opinion, and they do have puzzles. That is another honest similarity. Also, every open world adventure game has puzzles and has had puzzles since the beginning of time. Do they structure the puzzles similarly? Yeah, a little bit in some spots. But that's, you know, what is the core of this game? It's the elemental systems, the elemental interactions, getting new characters and building those new characters. That is the core of the game. And that is what takes up a large portion of your playtime. And that is not copied from Breath of the Wild. If anything, in the most, like, if you want to get really nitty gritty about it, I would say it took some inspiration from Breath of the Wild and then built a whole giant system around it. And that whole giant system deserves a little bit of respect for what they're doing, because it is so satisfying as a player to be using your environment when with elemental interactions to blow up stuff with your elements. Like, it's the uniqueness of the combat, of building all the characters, taking this, gacha like system into a huge open world game with hundreds of hours of playtime. When you take all the story stuff and learning the game, that first 100 or so hours, plus all the time it takes to build your characters, you're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay, if you're enjoying it and if you're engaged. Obviously, if it's not your bag, you're not getting that much playtime out of it. So I think all of the things that make this game unique, that make it special, that make it fun, aren't copies from Breath of the Wild. So to try and act like that's all this game is, like it's some cash grab Breath of the Wild clone, it's so disingenuous. And I can forgive some people, especially because most people haven't been able to play the game yet. So it would be hard to tell that from any of the footage that you might have seen. But it's a game, guys. It's a big, beautiful game with a lot of unique things that I think deserve respect. So let me know if you guys have any other questions or anything like that. We're going to keep trying to do some lead-up content and everything where we're just talking about different kinds of things, trying to get people ready for the game, and then just literally counting down to the 28th. I can't wait. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by today. You have to catch your boy in the next one, because we out of here. Deuces.